I am putting so much effort into this soil that I'm building. Like, I have to choose a physical location, and it freaked me out for the longest time.
It's a counterculture of doing things the right way.
There's so much more impact you can have if you put down roots. Like, the more that you just decide, like, this is where I'm going to be. I'm going to, like, invest in this community, and I'm going to, just make that decision. Then suddenly, like, the world opens up for you, and it's freedom in a different way. Being a farmer is something that's, like, so basic, and something that I think, are so dislocated from. And that it takes a certain kind of person to be like, okay, this is cool. I want to do this. And also my grandma did this, which she did. Like, I'm literally going back to what my family used to do on the same land that they did. And it's like radical.
I'm super, super excited to finally do this.
I know we've been talking about it forever.
Forever. And you're like one of my favorite people ever too. And like, you make my reality possible. So thank you for what you do.
Andre. It's rare that people acknowledge
really?
our work. Yeah. I feel like it's a pretty thankless job sometimes. So it's nice to have people like you around.
Yeah, but that's surprising to me.
At the farmer's market, you get eyes on humans and they thank you, but the rest of the time it's hard work and you're like, what am I doing this for again? I'm so sweaty.
Yeah, but is that because you're not around people when you're working?
Yes, that's right.
Because I feel like
Isolated.
if you had an audience, they would all be like, yeah, let's come on, Eden.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Plant more carrots. I love your carrots.
Are you telling me that I should be better at my social media?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I haven't done it
I
in 2
wasn't
years.
thinking that, but yes, I think you should.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But I mean, you should be if you have a purpose for doing it. Like, do you want to grow? Do you want more customers? Do you want to expand your farm? Like, what is it that you want to do?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have like a set goal, doing social media doesn't really,
I know.
Like, I like social media for the educational aspect. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I think small businesses should do that because big businesses are doing it and they're fucking everything up. And so like, we need to play the same game just so we can stay alive. Like, show people that it's really cool to have a small business because it's really fucking cool to have a small business.
Yeah.
But we don't have the giant budgets, the fancy cameras, and to create marketing like that.
We do.
But we do. See, huh? That's what I want to do. Like, that's my motivation.
Yeah.
I think I told you about barbecue. I don't know if I should mention his name, but
Oh yeah. Yes. Great barbecue.
fucking amazing.
Great guy.
And his passion is like fucking so cool.
Yes.
And when my friend Patrick, he was making fun of me because he's like, oh, you love something? Now I love it too. He says that I'm like that. Like,
Yeah.
if I just meet somebody that's passionate, then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it becomes my passion.
Right.
So now I love barbecue and I want to make a video for him,
Right.
So like he can compete with the big guys.
Right.
Because he should succeed because he's fucking good.
Yes.
And he's passionate and that's going to make him happy, which in turn is going to make our community better because we got a better barbecue and happier people. And he's going to train people as he grows. Like, it's just good for all of us.
Right.
So that's what I want to do with this whole thing is like create cool, beautiful cinematic videos for small businesses that could not afford that.
Right.
Because like when I do video for like a big client, I did this for the USDA last year.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, you had that contract.
It was like, I forget the exact number, but it was like $7,000 for every 90 seconds of video or some crazy shit like that.
Sweet.
I forget the exact number. Yeah, insane amount of money because that's how much people charge.
Right.
So yeah,
But you got to make money too, Andre.
yeah, I do. It'll come.
Yeah.
It'll come.
Yeah.
I don't love the idea of money, although I love money at the same time.
We have to.
We have to.
We have to have it.
Yeah.
We exist in this system.
Yeah, we do.
It's just like, obviously we don't want to have money. We want to like trade our way through.
Yeah,
life.
but that wouldn't make sense either.
No.
I just I want my wealth to come through making sure that everybody around me is wealthy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I need money. I like nice things. Like, I rented a Lamborghini last summer. Like, I like nice things, Yeah. I don't want to own one. That would be really dumb.
Right.
But driving one for a couple of days, it's amazing. So you need money to do all the stupid shit you want to do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to necessarily worry about making money because then whatever it is that I'm doing in order to make money becomes not fun.
Right.
Unless you really like making money, because some people do. The people that make a lot of
Yeah.
money is because they really like it.
Right.
But in my opinion, like what I've always done is before I had a business, I was working at Willamette University. I think that's when I met you.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to support everybody around me because I had these huge budgets. And then when I left, like it was like I had a net to fall on because I didn't have, like I had a lot of people that I supported in the past that were cool with me when I left. And then they helped me grow my business now.
Right.
So that same idea, like if I make sure that everybody around me makes money, then somehow I'm going to make money. You know?
It's like, it's so basic, the local economy stuff.
Yeah.
It's like localize your economies. And it's just like, obviously all ships float in a rising tide. Let's just like support our neighbors. It's not that hard. We're all going to make money and survive and thrive. It's why is it so hard to wrap our little brains around that? I mean, because we're not supposed to.
Yeah, I think because no one is telling us that that's cool.
Yeah.
Everyone is telling us that having a bigger truck is cool.
Yeah.
And so we work
you're
harder
like,
to
I
get into a
agree.
big, yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yes.
also agree with that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like, no one's really like telling kids like, you know what's really fucking cool? To take care of your neighbor.
Yeah.
Like when your neighbor is like an old lady and she's like, you know, having a hard time opening the door with her groceries, like that's cool.
Yeah.
No one's really saying that. Or
Right.
somebody saying that? I don't know.
I don't know. I remember I went to this earthquake workshop thing for the big one, and they were saying that the best insurance you can have for your survival is bringing some muffins to your neighbor.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, if you have those relationships, you survive. You survive anything. You got the people around you on board. It's so true. Hey, it's just, if it's so basic, but it's just, it's the thing. It's the real thing. It's the real deal.
Yeah, I lived in Alabama and I went through the biggest tornado outbreak ever in history in the U.S. on April 21st or April 22nd of 2012, I think, or maybe 2011.
Wow.
And it was fucked. It was 200 tornadoes that touched down. A lot of them were like F3 to F5 tornadoes, like just destroying everything, like 200 mile an hour winds. And they're like a mile and a half wide, like really fucked up.
Yeah.
And it destroyed a lot of towns. You can look this up. Like if you just like,
Yeah.
it's fucked. It's disturbing. But I was there and all the power lines were down. Everything was down. So it was like super post-apocalyptic for a while
Right.
because we had no power. So there was no gas stations. You couldn't even pump gas to get out of town. If you didn't have gas when that shit hit,
Yeah.
you couldn't leave town.
Yeah.
No one had a cell phone because you couldn't charge your cell phone. There was no food because your refrigerator went down.
Right.
It was fucking crazy. And it's exactly what happens is that's when you get to know your neighbors. All of a sudden you're like, oh, this person that lives right next to me that I sometimes wave at, it's a human being and like I can help them. And it actually feels good to have a dinner together because we're both on the same boat,
Yeah.
you know, and we're always on the same boat. We just think that we're on different boats because we have different jobs and different amounts of debt and whatever the fuck we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to pick your brain about farming.
Okay.
I have a question because I always think that ideally every neighborhood should have a farm because when shit hits the fan, if we have food locally, then it's almost like shit didn't hit the fan. You know what I mean? It's like everything's okay as long as we have food and drinking water.
Yeah.
So it blows my mind that government or whatever, whoever the fuck is in charge, doesn't prioritize localizing food. Like that, it blows my mind, you know? Like most of the food that we eat here doesn't come from here. And it's garbage. Like it's fucking shit in packages that's like fucked.
Yep.
Is it possible, like you run an urban farm, is it possible, like how much people can you feed out of that spot? How many, you know what I mean? Like you can just talk about this. What do you think about that? Remember, you got to be 4 fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Keep the hand there.
Yeah,
All
you
of
keep
that.
calling me out. Okay. It's an interesting question, and it's one that I consider a lot because what I do is unique, especially in like a rural area. Like I'm an urban farm, but our town is tiny, right? So it's the most local you can get. But it's not possible if we don't emphasize it or prioritize it. Not a lot of people consider that to be a super important resource. Like, people buy houses with a golf course because that's like what they consider to be an important resource. So it's kind of hard until we can kind of switch our mindset to view urban farms or local food production as something that's inherently important in our neighborhoods and our communities. Then farmers aren't going to be able to thrive in those spaces. And it's even now it's taking time and a lot of energy to sort of keep promoting myself or promoting, the farm and essentially explaining to my neighbors why it's important that I'm there. And I think it's a constant battle that doesn't necessarily have to be, and there needs to be an understanding and sort of a basic prioritization of agriculture. And that's something that I just don't think we have yet as a society. And more, I think farmers are being recognized. I think it's trendy to grow food. And that's like, honestly, just same with kitchens with chef, the celebrity chef. I think that kind of is spilling over into agriculture. And to some degree, that's a good thing because farmers are being recognized as superstars to some capacity. But there needs to be a shift, a social shift where food production is up there, and that's viewed as something that's like remarkable and inherent in our communities, and it's just not there yet. And I think I saw that especially during COVID, when we thought that we had the revolution that we've been waiting for forever, because my CSA sold out instantly. Farmers markets were nuts. People were coming to us saying, like, we need to localize our economies. We need to make sure that we have access to food during this crisis. And this year, and last year, I'm seeing sort of that drop off of interest. And so I guess the question is, what does it take for people to view that as important and then continue, even when we're not in crisis, even when there's not a pandemic or when we're not scared for our lives, to consider production of food within our communities like a resource that we can't live without. So not to be a downer, but I do think that it's a mental shift that we have to, as a community, make.
Yeah. You think it's going to take another disaster before we wake up a little bit more? Like a series of disasters until we're like, oh, fuck, maybe we should do this always, not when shit hits the fan.
I kind of think our society is very it's like we respond as an afterthought. We're not using the precautionary principle. We're not like taking steps or measures before something happens and making sure we have great structures in place for resiliency. We are recognizing after something dramatic occurs, oh, we need to be doing this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe it's going to take a few wake-up calls. I mean, I don't want to wait for that.
You want to know what I think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
This is both optimistic and super pessimistic. Like, it's going to sound real.
That's what I just did.
Yeah, which is, it's true, right? It seems true from the perspective of a cook and a farmer.
Right.
I think what's going to happen is that, it's happening already. The problem is that we're fighting this huge institution, but I think people are going to get sicker and sicker and sicker, younger and younger. Like, we're going to have people our age, fucked with a lot of shit, that it's going to be there because a lifetime of just eating shit. And then I think people like myself and people like you and people that are in the food space and the health space, and we're taking this social media thing seriously, and we want to actually let people know what we consider to be a better way. I think we're going to be able to shift a lot of minds into the understanding that the reason why that is happening is because we've been eating garbage. And so the only way to prevent that for the next generation, for the next wave, is to stop supporting those people that are poisoning us. And then obviously the only alternative choice is to buy shit locally, and learn how to cook. I think like in a city, it would be impossible to have a farm like in every neighborhood. I get that, but maybe there's ways to improve. I think it just needs to happen. I think that the optimistic side of this is that I just think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Otherwise we're fucked.
It can happen. It just would take the community saying, okay, look, municipal water is really expensive. We're going to subsidize that for you. And it's like worth it for us to help you out with those costs. We're going to like make this land affordable for you. We're going to, there has to be like, I wouldn't say sacrifice, but definitely like a commitment beyond just like, I'm going to buy carrots from you. There has to be a real understanding of what it means to grow and how much work it takes and how much capital it takes. And that means that the community has to be really invested in it. And that's just where I don't have faith that our communities are there yet, essentially.
Agreed.
But I think it's absolutely necessary and totally, I mean, it's incredible what you can grow on 1 acre. Just the amount of food, the production of intensive agriculture is just, there's so much potential and there's so much land that's not being used. And especially here, we are just in the most beautiful place to be growing anything, essentially. And so it's just, we're like hovering, we're like on the brink. We're just like hovering there. We just need to like blip over the edge, and just get there already.
What do we need to do?
We just have to, we just have to switch our values. We have to value things that we don't value right now. We have to value just the people around us, our bodies, our health, we have to help people out that can't afford food. We have to just take a look around, and instead of looking so far ahead into the horizon, into the future, into the internet, whatever it is, like we physically have to open our eyes and look around in our neighbors and our communities. And it's like my definition of sustainability, which is one that many people have, but it's like, yes, environmental for sure, but also like I have to be economically sustainable to survive, and that's like just as important as like my riparian zones and the animals and the ecosystems around my farm, and then the people around me, my employees, my body, my community. They all also have to be able to continue working alongside my farm and growing and like net positive at the end of the season, and so for like to be sustainable, to have a sustainable operation, to have a sustainable community, it's one that like you're looking at environmental, social, and economic values all at the same time. And our brains just don't, we're just not wired to do that. We're not taught to think critically and to look at in all these different capacities and to value that kind of community, society at large, if that makes sense.
It does. I think what we need to do is we need to use the same tools that huge corporations have used to make us believe that like eating fast food is cool somehow, or drinking, I hate mentioning names, so I'm not going to mention names, but like, the soda drink thing that like they sell in hospitals. Like these industries have somehow managed to make us believe that these things are cool. And that's why we do it.
Marketing works.
Yes. And so I think that what we need to do, like, actionable steps to make our societies healthier and, more economically prosperous, is we need to use those same tools. We need to do fucking beautiful marketing that shows that chefs and farmers are cool as fuck. But if you're actually taking care of your community.
Right.
Because the act of cooking is cool, but now it's like, well, whatever, anybody can cook. It's not that exciting. At least to, a chef level. Anyways, we can go down that rabbit hole. But I think that now, like a real chef, if you were to ask me, like, what is a real chef? I think it's a person that is taking care of their community, that understands food. It's not just somebody that can cook things. It's somebody that really understands what happens when we eat and the fact that we become what we eat. And all of it comes back to the soil, the health of the soil, the health of the environment, like the mental health of the farmer. These things actually,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I totally. And it's possible. Like, remember COVID, every single person and their mom was making sourdough bread.
Yeah.
They were just stoked. And
Yeah.
that was just like their thing. And cooking and like
Yeah.
buying from me. And I know they
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
You know, I know people, and I think people were, you know, better off in a lot of ways during those times because they were learning new things and they were self-sufficient in a lot of ways. And that was really exciting for all of us. And it was obviously horrible and devastating, but I do think it's totally possible. And you're right. We're susceptible to beautiful videos and marketing, and why not promote things that are good for us in that way? I agree. And I think people like you who actually like doing that kind of thing are going to like make some major headway with changing people's minds, because I want to watch pretty stuff, but I don't want it to like make me a bad person. Wouldn't that be sweet if we were watching?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people doing that.
I know there are. Of course,
there's a group called Paragraphic.
Okay.
They have a YouTube channel, and it's fucking stunningly beautiful. You got to check it out.
Okay.
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
It's, I think it's two dudes, and they have really nice cameras, really nice stuff, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they go to farms. They go to like small bakeries. They go to like homesteads. They go to like places where there's a cool story, an inspirational story, and a story that, you know, hopefully can change things, you know? And so they're not doing what they're doing to grow on YouTube and make a bunch of money. They're doing it because they know that doing this thing is the thing that, like, they have the superpower of knowing how to film and edit and tell a story. And so they need to use that superpower to help everybody instead of just helping themselves. I think that's the mental shift that we need to go through.
Yeah.
Is that we need to do the things that benefit all of us.
Right. And we all have that superpower somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all have it in every, like, and that's the beautiful thing about knowledge sharing. It's like, you know how to make a video. I can't even run my Instagram. You can help me out there. I grow vegetables. I can help you out there. Like there are superpowers, and we can help each other out. And that's, everyone has it. Yeah. And it's way more satisfying to find that and channel it and use it for good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's the switch.
Yeah. In our community, it's like you don't know this until you actually start doing it.
Right.
You know? But the problem is, like, you need somebody to push you to start doing it.
Right.
Because no one's going to actually do it. Like, the environment of everyone's, like, the average life of a person is you get up, drink some coffee, get stuck in traffic, go to your shitty job, hate your life, you know, like, kind of debate whether suicide is a good idea or not, get back in your car, listen to the news, get fucking angry, stuck in traffic again, get home, and then you see your kids, if you have kids, for a little bit. Otherwise, you just drink until you pass out, and then do it all over again.
Don't forget movies and Netflix. And,
yes, which is great. That's like the only good thing in that story. It's like totally. This art to distract us.
Totally.
But it's like no wonder that we have mental health problems.
Right.
Like, that's our life, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm super passionate about my little kids, is because I think that if you just show them that the world is fucking great, because it is also, it's also fucked, but it's also great. If you just like show them that side, eventually they'll see the other side. And you make sure that they're always learning something, like, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like the schooling, because it's not really preparing them for one path. It's just preparing them to learn. Like, wherever the world goes, they're going to be ready to learn the skill that they need for that time. And they're going to be fine. You know?
You guys are unschooling, right? Is that, or is
kind
that
of like, that's more my approach.
Oh, okay.
Noelle is structured.
Okay.
And
I can
she
see
is
that.
like, she does the Waldorf education. So it's really beautiful. And it's like,
that's her
the
style.
candles and the,
a little
the fire fairies.
Spiritual.
And it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
She's like Mary Poppins. Like, she hypnotizes the kids and they're all like, yeah, we'll do whatever you say. Which is amazing. And I'm more of like the anarchist dad that's like, let's go listen to Pink Floyd and talk about, you know, like the 60s, man, you know. I like that. And the kids love it because they're like, we fucking love Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah. That's the test. You passed the test.
I was listening to The Wall the other day.
That's awesome.
Seaton and
I used to watch Life at Pompeii with my really good friend who died of a heroin overdose. He was a cook too. And and he was a fucking awesome human being. He's actually right here, right now with us.
Yeah.
But we used to get all fucked up and eat mushrooms and watch Life of Pompeii. Like that was like our thing together. And I just found it at the library. Amazing. And I was like, I gotta rent this out so I can show it to my kids.
Yeah.
You know, like that's pretty cool. Like watch it in the projector and like talk about Pompeii. It's like you can learn history. And music and like all these things through these, you know, really fun experience as opposed to being in a school in a desk where they're like, shut the fuck up and you know, remember this date, you know.
Yeah.
It is like fuck. Like what? Like who came up with this idea, you know? Although it works for a lot of people.
That's right.
But not for us. Not for me.
No, not for you. For sure not for you.
I freak out in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
So when you got here, we were talking about how farming is like, you said something that I actually was not expecting, even though that I know a lot of farmers, like my world includes farmers.
Yeah.
But you said that it takes a really unique person and you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. I was just reflecting before with you on the people that I worked with and for, and yeah, kind of drawing lines between kitchen staff and farm staff. They're a certain breed. I think we tend to be, we have our 1 day a week, at least on my farm, the 1 day a week at the farmer's market, but then the rest of the week we need to be like isolated. We're like hermits. We work well, oftentimes alone. And we're quirky people. I mean, it takes, like I had mentioned before, it's like, you kind of have, it like hurts so good. Like it's really hard work and you have to, and I've found with a lot with employees, it's like, it's not bad to not be able to farm or not like to farm or not find the satisfaction in it, because it's really hard work. And it's, if you don't think it's the most beautiful thing to like have a bunch of kale and then like keep making bunches of kale and like make them for 3 hours and then have just totes and totes of kale and it's just repetitive and just like, if that doesn't spark joy, that's completely sane and makes so much sense, right? But like there's a certain type of person where they're like, this is what I want to be doing. I am out here, I'm by myself, I'm cutting kale, and I'm not going to stop cutting kale for a really long time. And it's crazy. It's masochistic. It's hot. It's cold. It's sleeting. It's like you're sunburnt, like whatever it is. And somehow we just like keep showing up again and again, you know? And like livestock is a whole other thing. I worked on a ranch for a while, and it's just like those kind of people that just want to spend time with cows. Like, heck yeah. But like, just, it ain't for everyone. And it's funny because my partner has been a chef before and works in kitchens, and she's like, as you know, she's just like the only, like I relate so much to your work style, awesome. Having worked in kitchens, and just like the way that you run this farm is like, I could work there because I've been there, and it's what is it about food production? It's so bizarre and hard.
Mm-hmm. What do you think motivates us to be in those environments?
I think that I honestly care about what I'm doing. And it's like a basic human need. Yeah. Like we have to eat food. Yeah. I'm like growing sustenance for people. And then like as a small farmer that's doing direct to consumer, I'm physically handing it to people. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. There's nothing more satisfying, you know? Yeah. It's just like, how in this crazy, complex, messed up world am I able to just like play in the soil and then hand people food? Yeah.
That's pretty fucking
dreamy.
Cool. Yeah. It's perspective. You can describe it as the fucking greatest fucking thing in the world. Right. Or you could describe it like,
and ask me on any given day.
Fuck ton of work. My back hurts. Like, fuck, you know? Yeah. It's both.
Yeah. I had a good day today. So I'm like, farming rocks. I like planted so many peas and I'm like really happy. And like my irrigation system didn't break. So I'm like, everyone farm, it's the best. But that's, you've heard me talk on a bad day about farming. Mm-hmm. It's not the same. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I keep coming back. It's a drug.
Yeah. I think the connection that chefs have with farms, obviously in the Northwest, it's a lot more.
Yeah. But still not a lot.
Yeah. It's still not as good as it should be. Yeah. But you do see it. Like I have multiple cookbooks in here that are from Oregon chefs that they recognize it. I feel like once you get to a certain level of like skill in a kitchen, you realize that if you want to cook good food, you got to get it locally. You know, it's like, duh. Why didn't I think of this day one? Like, obviously, Eden's carrot is going to be better than the one I get at this store. Like, duh. Why didn't I think of that?
Right.
But it takes like sometimes fucking decades for a cook to learn that.
Yeah.
Which fascinates me because in a kitchen, what we're doing is we're overworked.
Yes.
And so there's no fucking time to like, hey, let's go to the farm and pick up, let's go to Saturday market. Like some people can afford that luxury, but that's not the norm. And so we just call this number right here and ask for 50 pounds of this shit. And they just magically shows up. And so chefs are just used to that.
Yeah. And the margins, margins in restaurants are really low. So those prices also are something that chefs are looking at.
Yeah, that's true. I have a relationship with money that's like, I don't believe in short-term anything. I believe in long-term everything. So if I'm buying, I'm just going to make up a number, like a pound of carrots for $20 from you, or I can get it for $15 at the store. On the surface, like that day is going to be more expensive to buy from you, but long-term is actually cheaper to buy from you, even though that number is a greater number. Because my future is going to be better. Like my restaurant is going to...
I know that you are like so like that. I know that you're like internalizing the externalities for sure, but the average chef is probably not.
No, they don't.
Right.
And I think if we catch them when they're really young, then they would give it shit.
Yeah, brainwash.
Because what happens is that you go into a kitchen being 16, 18, whatever.
As many people do.
Yes, most of us did.
Yeah.
And we're just stoner kids. We have no fucking clue about anything. And we're passionate, like we were like either punk rockers or like poets or something.
Right.
And then we meet this older chefs that are these drunks that, they're fucking burnt out and they're like calling Cisco for shit, and it's like, we think that's what it is, and like we only see the beautiful dish that we're sending out. It's like, oh, this is the source of pride in my career, is like this plate looks really pretty and I'm sending it out. But there's not enough chefs that from day one are telling their young prep cooks like, look, the best fucking food is the one that came from 2 miles down the road.
Right.
And you actually don't have to do very much to it because it's already so fucking good.
Right.
Cooking is that. Like good food is quality ingredients, apply heat and a pinch of salt, and you got something good. Like there's very little technique to create really beautiful food as long as your ingredient is good.
Right.
And
but so let me ask you a question, because you were a rebel in the kitchen when you worked, I guess, was Bon Appetit your first sort of, that was when you were running the show, or were you working there?
No, I had an executive chef job at a restaurant before that.
Okay. Were you breaking the rules there?
I was always breaking the rules.
Yeah. So this is my question. Is it nature versus nurture with those kinds of things where you're questioning, do we need people to break the rules and then teach those that need to be nurtured how to break the rules? Are there a certain amount of us that are out there saying like, screw that, I think we can do something different? What, like, you weren't a kid that had to be taught in the kitchen? Or did you have a mentor that brought you sort of into the local food scene?
In the kitchen? No.
Yeah.
Not at all. I think in life, yes. I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's definitely nature. I think I just came out rebellious or curious. Yeah. I think that's most rebellious people are just like, like they have questions. But I think that I also met some people throughout my life that shaped me into that. So like I met this kid, he was a friend of mine in school, same age as me. He had an older brother that was listening to like rock music. And I grew up in South America. So like rock music was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And I loved it from the second I heard it. So that spoke to me. And that kind of that's the attractive side of being rebellious. It's like, it's dark. It's like, you're not supposed to talk about it. Like, rock music is like scary for, especially in the 90s in Latin America. Like my parents thought that he was the devil, Right. And I was like, yeah, this is the shit. It's making everybody mad around me. Like they're upset that I'm doing this. That's exciting because it just encourages questions. And, and I just wanted to push my parents, like, ask me why I like this. Like, come on, and I met a few people that were really cool that were just thinkers. So so I think it was a combination of being born somebody that questions and then meeting the right people.
Yeah.
But in kitchens, in my experience, I never met anybody that was like that. But when I was a teenager, I was like a bad kid. I didn't do anything bad necessarily, but I was just really angry at the fact that when I looked up and I saw adults in the world, I saw them as like losers. Just like, you people are living this life that you're unhappy with and you're not doing shit about it. And so I had this like resentment towards adults because I didn't want to grow up to be like them. I'm like, why? I don't want to grow up and turn into a fucking person that goes to a job. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to grow up to be a person that is doing these things that I love doing. So I'm a happy adult. So like I want, you know, and my dad is an artist and my mom's amazing. She stayed at home with us. But I didn't see like, they didn't have a drive for some passionate something. But anyways, because I was like an anarchist punk, when I started gaining skills, meaning cooking, I wanted to like, my motivation is I wanted to stick it to the man, you know? And so when I'm working for like a big kitchen, a corporate kitchen, and they have millions of dollars, they're spending like, when I started working at this job, they were spending like $6,000 every day in veggies, every day, because we're feeding thousands of people. And of course, it's all coming from the big fucking companies, you know? And so I was like, why are we not pumping $6,000 into our local community every day? Like, who the fuck came up with this ridiculous idea that we're going to give it to this company and that money is going to just be vacuumed out of our communities instead of like contacting all these cool hippie farmers that are in my area and be like, hey, you got some tomatoes?
Yeah.
I'll buy them from you. Here's a couple grand, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started doing that. I was just like, this is fucking great. It's like, I'm going against this giant corporation. And he just put a smile on my face, you know? It's like, fuck these people. I'm taking their money and I'm giving it to the cool people. So I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question, but I think it's
you did.
nature
I mean,
more.
It's a mix because some people need leaders, right?
Yeah.
We need leaders. We need people that like find their own way to then, you know, present an alternative.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. That's what we need. We need leaders that are just like, fuck it. This is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are going to be like, okay, now I feel like I have power because now there's this other person kind of trailblazing in front of me.
Right.
It seems to be working out for them. And so then people start to jump on board.
Yeah. And that's great. We need those people too.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. It's a slow process, you know, but I think it's a combination because I think about this all the time. I think it's a combination of actually taking this filming, podcasting, YouTube, Instagram, all those things really seriously, like to a high level of quality, and bring in that message of, look, how about we take care of each other? Like, it's not a fucking crazy idea.
No.
You know, like we're all in this together, you know, like in communities, like let's not focus so much on what's happening globally. Let's focus on what's happening locally. Like who in my community needs a hand? Give them a fucking hand, you know? Like if we start doing that, then all the problems start to go away because people start, you know, acting on the things that they can actually control. Yeah. As opposed to stressing about the things that they cannot.
Right.
You know?
And then it becomes second nature. And then that's just like the way we live.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. It becomes a drug. Like my drug is to meet people that are excited about something and helping them out.
Right.
For free. Like there's no exchange of anything other than like energy.
Yeah. It feels good.
It feels fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good. How did I meet you? I met you at a conference, right? The summit.
Yeah.
Salem something.
Yeah. You were there and I was there too.
I don't remember meeting you though, but I remember meeting you later and then you said that you met me then.
I think you spoke at something and I maybe saw you there.
Okay. At Willamette?
Was that at the summit, you mean?
I think.
Maybe we ended up getting drinks later.
No, that was the second time that I met you.
Oh, okay. Well, then I think that
was at a Friends of Family Farmers thing.
Okay. Somewhere in there.
Alex was there. Remember my friend Alex?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's in San Diego.
Is he?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
Okay. I talked to him recently. We text his life is fucking roller coaster, and he's in San Diego.
It
right
already
now.
was. What, does he live here? I
No,
know
he lives there.
he moved.
He moved
there.
to San Diego.
Did he take his
I don't
paper
know
pot
the
transplanter
details.
with him?
I have no idea.
He was gonna
But
let me
he was
borrow
a
it.
fucking cool fucking dude.
Yeah, he had all his peppers and whatever.
Yeah.
Is he still farming?
I don't know.
We can't lose another farmer.
I know.
I'll have to text him.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
You have his number?
I think so.
Yeah, he's a cool
I
dude.
think he's in my phone as Alexandre's friend.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I met him. So this is like I always tell people that I stay cooking only because of local farms. Like I have no interest whatsoever in cooking unless it's coming from local farm. Because of like my, I don't know, punk rock attitude.
Yeah.
So I love, like passionately love local farms. And I have 200 stories to prove why farmers are the coolest people ever. But with Alex, I met him at the Salem Saturday Market.
Okay. He was selling there?
He was selling there.
Okay.
And I was just kind of watching him because what I wanted to do with my previous job is I wanted to buy all the veggies left over at the end of the day and just like whatever they had, drop it off at my kitchen and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So that way, I mean, that's beneficial, right? For everybody. And so I was like checking out who the farmers are, like, are they cool people or whatever. And so I was just watching this guy, Alex, and people are grabbing all these veggies and everything looks beautiful, and they have like a big basket and they're like, how much for this? And he's like, it's $5. And people are like, no, this is like $30 worth of shit. And he's like, it's $5, it's fine. And they're like, here's 20. And I was like, this motherfucker is like, he's growing veggies.
He's giving it away.
Because he just wants people to eat veggies, I'm like, God, I fucking love this dude so much.
It gives me heart palpitations.
It's so cool, Like,
yeah, no, that's cool.
It's both terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it's great. Like his heart is in the right place.
That's
like,
right.
Why are you doing what you do every day?
Right.
Because I want my community to be healthy.
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And so I went to him and I was like, hey, dude, what do you have a lot of at your farm? And he's like, oh, fuck, I got a couple hundred pounds of this. And I'm like, what are you going to do with it? He's like, I don't know, like hopefully, I don't know, maybe compost it. And I was like, bring it to my kitchen. Every single ounce of whatever you got, just bring it to my kitchen and I'll buy it. And he's like, what? I can't. Because I was playing with somebody else's money.
Yeah.
And I saved his year, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how fucking cool,
That's
Like,
sweet.
for no reason at all other than because you make somebody smile.
Yeah.
The best payment ever.
Yeah. And then you get some yummy burgers.
And I got him amazing food. And I got to stick it to the man.
Yeah.
Because the company was like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, suck it. I'm going to do it, you know?
Right.
It was great.
What a good guy.
Tell me about your relationship with Lindsay. Cook and farmer.
I know, right?
Chef and farmer. That's cool.
It's pretty dreamy. Well, as you know, she had a restaurant in Independence that then shut down during COVID. But that's where I met her. My best friend, Luis, and I went there in the middle of January. It just opened. And we ended up staying there until 4 a.m. with her, just hanging out. And I was like, and that was it. That was like, this is my person. And so, we're actually, she's my biggest supporter, and she's currently running, as you know, the kitchen, the community kitchen at Indie Commons. But stay tuned, because I think there might be a bit of a restaurant situation coming up shortly. Yeah. It has to happen, right? Yeah. Like, we have to have a spot that's awesome. Completely local, and we just want to create a gathering space where it's safe for everyone. It just feels like you can just go and hang out, eat really healthy, delicious food that's grown around here. No airs, no pretension, just straight up sweet gathering space that then the community can use for events or whatever else, just a place. That's where I felt like her restaurant was my place to go, my second home. And since I haven't been going there, it's like, we need to create that for people. We need that kind of spot in the community. And and it's like, that brings us joy. Like, that's that's the stuff.
Yeah.
That's the stuff of life.
Yeah.
Just have a spot and good food and good beer. And I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah. We need that.
We need that.
We need that here. We kind of had that a few years ago, I want to say. I don't want to mention names either, but there was a spot that when I first moved here 6 years ago that I was like, oh, this is kind of the cool spot.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of improving to do, but now we got nothing.
I know. I know.
Like,
there's nowhere. I mean, I don't want to say there's nowhere, but we are in a little town.
Yeah.
We're in a little town and we have needs.
Yeah.
Needs that are not met like they are in big cities.
Yeah. But this is the coolest fucking little town ever.
It's so
like
sweet.
I love this place.
I know.
I grew up in a ginormous city
Yeah.
with 10 million people.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to live in a city. That's what I thought, you
Yeah.
know, it's just like a lot of people and arts and this, you know, and like,
You got it all.
which I still like, but now I'm like, fuck that. Like all these fucking people fighting and like,
And
it seems that way.
you just have to I went and visited my friend in Seattle the other week, and it was like, the only thing you can do is like walk around and spend money.
Yeah.
That's like all there is to do. It's like, we can do this cool thing, get your wallet out, you know? And here it's like, we can walk into the woods. We can like, we were foraging the other day, you know, it's like, that's how we spend our free time. We're like making sweet food and like hanging out at the farmer's market. It's just, it's a different vibe, and it's definitely easier to just, to build community, I think, personally. And I grew up here, and I told myself I would never come back. Like, I grew up in Monmouth, and I was like, deuces, like went out to Southern California, went to college there. I was like, I'm going to be here forever. And then I just like, you know, it lasted 5 years. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I need to be back where I came from, because that place.
I love it here.
Yeah.
It was love at first sight when I moved here.
Yeah.
We drove through with my mom.
Okay.
We were on our way to McMinnville from Jefferson.
Yeah.
And my mom was driving, and she drove through here, and we drove through downtown, and I was like, where are we? Like, this is like, did I just like walk into like a Hallmark movie? This is really cute, you know?
Yeah.
And we got out, and we actually went to that restaurant where Indie Common Sense now.
Oh,
so it's
yeah.
like the whatever grill, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Had a burger.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I was like, this town is pretty fucking cool. And so I started looking for homes here.
Yeah.
And we kept driving around and hanging out at the park. And I'm like, fuck, like I want my kids to have memories of hanging out at that park.
Yeah.
Their childhood right there compared to like some neighborhood in Salem or something like, this is fucking awesome. And then we saw this house, and it was way over my budget. And I asked my mom, is it responsible to buy a house like way over your budget if you fall in love with it? And she's like, no, if you fall in love with it, you need to buy it regardless.
Amazing, Mom.
And I was like, okay. So I called my realtor.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, dude, I'm on my way to the house, and I want to look. And he's like, no, not right now. I'm like, it's my house, dude. And he's like, no, but you can't go over there. And I'm like, I'm going to go knock on the door and talk to the owner. He's like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, fucking what? Watch me. I'm doing it. Like, I'm just letting you know. I'm not asking you for permission.
Yeah.
And so I came here and I knocked on the door, and I was like, hey, I know you're selling the house. I want to buy it. Like, you know, my wife is like this and I'm like this. We have 2 kids, and like, you know, we're like artists and, you know, and the lady's like, I like you. I think I'm going to sell the house to you. It's like, yes, my plan worked.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Were you working in Portland at that point?
No, I was working in Salem.
Okay.
I was going to buy a house in Salem. I moved from Portland I was living in Portland because my job was in Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Working at Intel.
Right.
Being a chef there. And then the same company transferred me to Salem to be director of operations, I think was my first title there.
Okay.
But they had plans for me, which is they were going to fire the chef there and then put me in as a chef.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I ended up there.
Yeah.
But my plan was to go back to Portland. I was like, this is temporary, like hang out in Salem for a little bit because of this job, and then I'll get back over there. But then I fell in love with this little town, and I'm like, oh, it's fucking great. The library is like 3-4 blocks away from my house. The park is there. Like fucking everything is perfect. I love it, you know? It's like perfect.
But it's a certain type of person that likes this kind of lifestyle. You have to be able to take it slow and like be fine with the fact that the resources are much less around here, you know, because they're the city people. Like, I just know some of my good friends are like, how do you live here? You know? And I'm like, no, I mean, look, there's like the logging roads that are sweet behind the dump that I loved for hiking. And they're like, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I want to live here forever.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy.
I know. Isn't that weird to say?
I'm not the type of person. I never grew up in South America.
Yeah.
I've lived in Alabama and Tennessee. I did a lot of road tripping. Like, I was like sleeping in my car for months at a time and going East Coast, South, like North Carolina, South Carolina. Like, I did a lot of driving and just sleeping in my car there. And then Colorado and then California, like up and down the coast. Mostly in Tahoe, but I went down to LA a bunch, in Santa Cruz, then Oregon, and then Washington, and then back to Oregon, and then I went back to Alabama, and then now I'm back over here. But when I got to Independence, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm home.
This is it.
Fuck, you know? Like, I grew up in Bogota, Colombia, like the furthest thing from independence ever in every way. Yeah, but I love it.
We talk a lot about in like the farming community, or at least my sort of thing is, and I struggled with it for a long time, but you physically have to have a piece of land to farm. Like, it's not like any other career or many other careers where you're like, I'm going to be a lawyer and I can like move here and here and use my skills. Like, I am putting so much effort into this soil that I'm building. Like, I have to choose a physical location. And it freaked me out for the longest time because I was like, commit to a physical spot if I want to do this well, essentially. And then I kind of realized there's so much more impact you can have if you put down roots. Like, the more that you just decide, like, this is where I'm going to be, I'm going to like invest in this community, and I'm going to, you know, just make that decision, then suddenly like the world opens up for you and it's freedom in a different way. But you're like, you kind of have to make that decision, and it can feel like a sacrifice, or it can feel liberating. And I've finally gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is my spot, and I'm like free because I have a community and a home that I like want to be in, and I want to like. The relationships that I have now here can be strengthened, and I'm not like looking to the next spot or, you know, and it's kind of a weird thing, especially in farming, where you're like, this is my spot. Physically, this is my dirt. I have to be here.
That's so fucking cool.
It's like, crazy.
I want to be a farmer so bad.
Yeah.
Except for I know that I just wouldn't be a good farmer.
Why not?
Because I'm like a butterfly in the wind. Like, I'm like, I'm going to run in this direction, and then I'm going to run in that direction. I don't have focus. I don't have like, my work ethic is that of a creative. Like, I just want to write, and then I want to go draw, and then I want, you know, like I've done 200 different things. Cooking is the thing that kept me in one spot-ish in one career, because I'm doing something different every day. I can rewrite the menu if I want. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be a good farmer because I have a garden here. And I suck at it. Like, Noelle does all of it, and I don't do any of it. But I romanticize farming so much. Right.
You and everyone else. And that's awesome for farmers, because then it makes us look super cool and romantic. And in reality, we're just literally dirty all the time and sweaty.
No, but I also think that is the most romantic thing ever.
It is something where I want people to think it's romantic to a certain degree, or like at least respect and acknowledge how important and cool it is. But then there's a point where like you can over romanticize, and you're like,
yes.
Okay, I remember I gave this tour of a farm that I was working up on in Sacramento to this woman who was running a nonprofit in San Francisco, and she was this like highfalutin lady who was like pretty well off, and I was giving a tour to her family of this farm that I was working on, and I remember her being like, how dreamy your life, how relaxing, how wonderful you get to live out here, and this is so romantic, and I'm so jealous of your lifestyle. I work so hard, it's the grind in the city, and I just wanted to be like, lady, you don't even know how hard we work out here, you know? And so that is like, to a certain degree, it is romantic, but also the acknowledgement that like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
You know, and
yes,
so there's
sure.
a fine line.
Yeah.
She also asked me, oh my gosh, I just remembering now the story. She asked me, we went by the pigs and she was like, oh, what are those for? Like, what do you do with the pigs? And I was like, and I was so snarky back then, and I've gotten better at this, but I was like, oh, they're for eggs. Nice. She was like, oh, and I was like, no, we slaughter them. We eat them. Do you eat meat? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, those piggies are going to be on your, you know, they're on your plate. You know? Yeah. You ever heard of pork?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Over romanticizing is bad because it's not a realistic picture of,
right.
you know, depiction of what it is.
Right.
But like the way that I romanticize it is that for me, the things that I romanticize in life is like punk rock.
Yeah.
Which is not, there's nothing romantic about it.
No.
But it's like, it is a culture, it's a counterculture of doing things the right way.
Yeah.
You know? And so I see farmers as rock stars, not because anyone has told me that they are. It's because, first of all, I would not have a business if it wasn't because of farmers. Like, I would stop cooking if I had, like, if you were not there, I wouldn't cook, you know? So like farmers are necessary for my survival, you know, from a financial standpoint. But also like I see farmers as people that are like, fuck having jobs, like fuck meetings, fuck going into a cubicle, fuck traffic, like fuck all these structure that the system is telling me I have to go through. And I'm going to go work really fucking hard in the sun.
Yeah. But
my hands are going to be full of dirt. I'm going to be grounding and I'm going to eat tomatoes warm off the vine, you know? And it's like, my romanticism is like rock and roll.
Yeah, totally.
You know? Like,
and you're the kind of person that understands that. That's so fun. I wrote a blog post when I was like right out of college, and it was called "Your Grandma's a Hipster and So Are You." And it was all about like how cool it is to like do things that used to not be cool. Yeah. And it like being a farmer is something that's like so basic and something that I think are so dislocated from. And that it takes a certain kind of person to be like, okay, this is cool. I want to do this. And also my grandma did this, which she did. Like, I'm literally going back to what my family used to do on the same land that they did. And it's like radical and crazy and so fun.
Yeah. It's against the norm.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about your writing. Like, okay. I love your writing.
Oh my gosh.
I get your emails and I'm excited to open them up. And they're short and to the point, but your writing is really, really, really fucking good.
Thank you so much.
And I love literature more than it's one of my passions, and I super enjoy it. How did you start writing? How do you write? What's your writing philosophy?
Okay, well, for the newsletter that I send out, it's you know how people who are working on a computer all week long then go and garden on the weekends because they're like, yay, like this is my off time. I like love getting on my computer. I'm like, yay, I get to sit down, like have a cup of tea and like type away. No, but I come from a long line of English majors. So writing has always been something that was like, you need to be a good writer. You need to, so that's always, and like reading and literature has always been sort of just like just a basic in my childhood. But, it's therapeutic to kind of think through the week and then recognize that there's a parable or like something to be learned or something to be taught or something that I've just reflected on. And it's kind of selfish, honestly, for me to write and send it out to a whole bunch of people because it's just for me. Like I need that time to sit down and reflect on what I'm doing. And oftentimes it spurs from like something devastating that's happened, like a pest infestation or like a lack of germination in a whatever crop. And so I take that time and I'm like, this is such a horrible thing that happened, or this is so hard. And then I'm able to, in writing, go through the motions of why am I doing this? why is this important? Why is this a learning experience? And like, this is why I'm doing it. I wouldn't farm if it was perfect every year. And I'm the kind of person who it's like every season is totally different, and that's why I do it. I would be bored if I was just the same thing over and over again, you know. And so when I sit down and write, it's like, wow, this has never happened to me before, and I get to like share it with everyone and sort of spread the gospel of like farming's crazy, and let's try to make a little sense out of it. But it's fun, as you know, right? You like to write.
I love to write.
Yeah.
If I don't write, I go crazy.
Yeah. Same.
And I've gone periods of time without writing.
And you went crazy.
And I went crazy. Yeah, like I developed anxiety because I wasn't writing.
Yeah, it's like you have to get it out.
You have to get it out. It's for some people, not for everybody.
No.
But for some people, mental health depends on your ability to find a language to the shit that's in your head.
Right.
And the best way to find a language is to read a lot and to write a lot. And so then you discover all these words, and then you discover the work of other people, and then you realize that other people have gone through similar shit as you have, right. And they've had insights that are fucking life-changing. Yeah. And so that exploration of other people's thoughts, and then the exploration of your own thoughts, because for me, writing is that. It's like, I'm going to write about whiskey, and then I just like, it's not me writing almost, right. You know, it's just like this thing is coming out, and then I'm like discovering that this thing was inside, and I'm like, oh, this is fun, and then I try to get creative with it, and yeah, I love it. When the things that you send are pretty short. Yeah. Do you write a bunch and then edit?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm the same way as you. I sometimes don't even know what I'm going to say, and it's like another person takes over. It is bizarre, and I've learned so many things about myself, like really, really like basic things about myself, like just by writing things down. And it's this weird thing that like, it's like the zombie takes over, and suddenly you're like, oh, that's who I am. Or like, oh, that's why I do this. Yeah. Oh, there's the answer to my problem, or like the answer to the world's problems. Yeah. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just diary of the mouth all the way down, and then just kind of go from there.
And then you do it digitally?
I do type.
All of it? From the beginning to the end, all of it is typing? Yeah. Do you handwrite any of it?
I handwrite notes throughout the week, like if I get inspiration. Okay. And I do handwrite a lot of stuff. I sometimes handwrite. My calendar is all handwritten. Okay. All my to-do lists and everything. I don't do anything on the computer that way. I like to see it. Yeah. But when I'm thinking, for some reason, I can type faster than I write these days. Yeah, me because too. We way faster. Are on our computers so much more, and so I can lose my train of thought if I'm trying to handwrite it.
See, for me, it's backwards.
Is that right?
Yeah, I love handwrite. I always handwrite. Oh, cool. This is my journal.
Is that when you say you're writing? You're writing physically?
Oh yeah, I'm doing it by hand.
Those muscles are really well.
Well, it's because it slows me down, and that's what I need in order to be able to think. I can type really fucking fast. Yeah. And so when I'm doing it like that, like it's like I'm in a race against, you know, my internal whatever the fuck is happening in my head. Yeah. When I'm writing by hand, I'm having all these thoughts, but I can only keep up with so much of it. So I'm only listening to the part that is beneficial to my writing, you know, to the act of discovering something. So it really helps me. I have to do it by hand. Otherwise I'm too quick, and then it's just, but then I edit digitally. So like,
so you type it, you'll like transcribe it.
Yeah. So like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to like, look, this is totally on the spot. What did I write in here? Let's see where the title for this is. Writing and mental health. 3/27/23. So I wrote that 4 days ago. Yeah, it does. And so that day I wrote 1-2 pages. And this is like my to-do list, but then this is the same day of writing. Yeah. So this is like 2 or 3 hours of writing. And I ended up here. Let's see what the last thing I wrote. Whatever that means to you, explore your interest in, this is embarrassing. Anyways.
So did you type that up?
Well, if I feel like I wrote something that has some type of meat in it, use, then yes, then I'll rewrite it the same way that I wrote it in here, And then I have this app. It's not an app. It's like a computer software thing. It's called essay.org, I think, or essay dot something.
Yeah.
It's not .com. It's something else.
Yeah. You'll put the link
in the description. Yeah. I won't. I won't do that. But I forget. But people can Google it if somebody listens to this. And so then it's structured, like you rewrite it, and then it's got all these different steps. So you can restructure. So like you can rewrite each sentence. It's really fucking good. So it splits everything by sentences. So it's like, you know, today I'm writing this thing because and then you read, you're like, this is bullshit. Beep, delete. And then you go to the next one. And the next one is like, I went to the supermarket and you know, and then you're like, I really should write like, in my dream, you know, like you try to, you make it better, and then you just go down each sentence and you rewrite the sentence.
Can you like move them around too?
Yes, but that's the next step.
Okay.
So you start with rewriting them.
Okay.
So you don't think about the whole paragraph. You think about just each sentence. How can I write it better? And then you read it again, and then it's going to make sense or not. And then you start restructuring. So then you can move the sentences around. It's really fun. But it takes a while because then you become a perfectionist and you're like, I want to say this like life-changing thing, you know?
Yeah.
But it's super fun.
You can go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. But it's great. Yeah. I love writing. And I dream of being a writer.
Yeah.
But I read a lot and I compare myself with like great writers. And I'm just like, I'm never going to fucking write a book because I suck, you know?
That's not true. I've never read anything you've written except I guess on like Instagram and stuff, and those are great.
No, those are just like
the little blurbs.
Yeah,
would those come from your journal? Do you think?
No.
Those are
that's just like no. I don't plan my posts at all. It's just like I have a picture in it, and I'm like, oh fuck, what do I say? Yeah, and then I just say whatever the fuck.
They're like planned. Very inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to make them inspiring because that's how naturally my brain works.
Yeah.
I have on my website. I have like a chef's journal thing, so you can read stuff in there.
Oh. Is that from your journal?
It's yeah. Okay. It's like just random shit that I write, and it's all kind of the same shit. Like you'll read it and be like, I've heard him say this. Good job, Andre. You did not discover anything new in this one, but keep trying. That's what it is. But it's fun, you know. I feel like I don't know where I heard this, but it was something like there is an incredible story stuck inside of this pen, but it's somewhere in there. So you need to like find it. So you need to write a bunch until eventually you get to that great story.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about showing up.
Yeah.
Like I show up every morning. Like I just promise myself I'm going to write every morning. And so I do. And then sometimes it's stupid. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm proud of what I wrote. Right. I'm going to actually spend time and I'm going to edit it. But it's really fun. Because we say this all the time, but we don't. It's like we should build this community thing that we're preaching.
I know.
Yeah. Like maybe we should have dinner sometimes.
We should. Like years ago, we talked about doing a regular dinner gathering thing where we can switch locations. But invite people.
Yeah, because that would be so good. Like my family would love that.
Yeah.
You know, my kids would be stoked.
Yeah.
Noelle and I need that. Like Noelle has a lot of friends. She has a really good community. Like a lot of badass ladies that are her friends. I have honestly very little community. I have my friend Patrick. He's like my super homie, but we're completely opposites in every way. Like we don't have a single thing in common other than we cook together.
Right. Wait, did you guys work together at one point, right?
Yeah, we worked together at Intel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I made him my sous chef. And he ended up taking over the executive chef job when I left.
Gotcha.
And he's one of my favorite people in the whole world. I fucking love him more than I could ever tell you. But he's the opposite of me. So I also want to fucking murder him all the time. He's fucking annoying as fuck. But I love him, you know? It's like a super weird relationship.
Yeah. We need those friends, though, that are the opposite of us to keep us in check.
Yeah, he does that pretty well. I just like I have this idea that retirement, it shouldn't be about saving a bunch of money so we can pay for nurses to take care of us when we are shitting in our pants. But it should be that we invest in relationships with people today So when we get old, we go, you know, like you're 90 and I'm 93 or whatever the age difference is. And I'm like, oh, you know, like, can you go get some diapers for me? And you're like, yeah, I'll get pick, you know, but next week can you get the, you know, like,
yeah, right.
That's way better than being like,
Right.
well, my kids abandoned me
Yeah.
because I'm no longer useful. And
Right. And I'm in this old folks home or whatever.
yeah, and it's expensive as fuck,
Yep.
you know, and
Yep,
it's
and
just
just
like,
drinking and sure.
yeah, exactly. Fuck.
I
That's
know.
so bad.
Have you heard of the idea, Slow Money, the organization? It's like slow food, but it's called Slow Money. And the whole idea is that communities will come together and they'll invest in local projects. So like a lot of small farms are involved in like these kind of grassroots projects, and these community members will come in and loan money at 0% interest loan to these businesses in small communities. And then the idea being, okay, you're not going to get a ton of money back, or maybe it's like really low interest. You might get some money back, right? But you're investing in a community. And so instead of just like you, literally exactly what you were saying, instead of saving up your money so that you can like travel when you're retired or whatever, you spend your money in your community while you have it. And then maybe you have to work a little bit longer, but you're doing something that you hopefully like to do. And you are living in a community that's worth living in. And so it's the idea that you take your money out of like the stock market or whatever you're planning on putting it in for retirement, and then you put it in local organizations that are doing things that you want to live around. It's like very basic, but it's weirdly mind-blowing.
That makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. So much sense. Can you put that in the description?
Yeah, I'll type it in the little, in the little box.
Please. It's so funny because I have this debate all the time, and I'm super ignorant when it comes to investing and all that. I literally I've read 2 books.
Yeah.
So I know nothing. But I don't believe in it. I don't invest, and I don't think that I would. And again, I'm super fucking ignorant. Yeah. So whatever I'm going to say is really dumb. Or maybe dumb. Maybe it's genius.
Yeah. Fine line.
Yeah, you know. In 10 years, we'll listen back to this and be like, he was
had
genius.
It made, yeah.
I think what's happening is that we assume that things will continue to be the same. And so if that was the case, then investing is a great idea.
Right.
I don't think that things are going to stay the same. Like, I am pretty convinced that it's going to radically change. Right. You know? And so when I think about putting money into this Roth IRA or whatever, and I can't touch it until I'm 65, that seems to me, in my reality, that seems kind of silly. It's like for me to believe that when I turn 65 and 20 something years, 30 years, whatever, that everything's going to be the same, and then I'm going to retire and they're going to give me back my money plus
7%.
Like I just don't know. I don't understand how people can believe that that's the case. And the only argument that I have for that point is that, like, I do read a lot, and I've read a lot of really, really interesting books about what they think is going to happen in the future. And it doesn't look anything like what it is today. You know, I think if you ask anyone, like, what do you think the world is going to be like in 20 years? Like, no one's going to give you an accurate description, you know?
Right.
So investing money seems funny, you know? Investing in your community seems to make perfect sense because your community can evolve into whatever you want it to be as long as you put your money in your community.
Yeah.
So that's like, it seems like a safe bet. If we're gambling in this money world, the stock market seems like really crazy to me.
The stock market is tied to gas, you know, and petroleum, and that's just obviously not the future. But I mean, there are things that will gain value in the future. We know, like, I do believe that local economies will continue to increase in value. Like, that's where investing money makes the most sense.
Yeah.
It's just, it is something though that everyone needs to get on board. Like, if we continue to think that the stock market is the way to go, then it'll continue to flourish too.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity, unless people sort of lose faith in that and start putting their money where it belongs, which is down the road.
I think more people are doing that.
I do. I think people want to. I think people are hedging their bets and investing in both, maybe, and making sure that their bases are covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
some people.
I think of like, if I had to choose between having $10 million in the bank or having friends to bring me soup when I get a cold, I'll take that.
Right.
The second, every time.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Because, yeah, I can buy a Lamborghini with the $10 million, but if I don't have a friend to ride in my Lamborghini with, that's really sad.
Yeah, that's the worst Lamborghini ride ever. Yeah.
I work for a lot of super wealthy people, and what I see in them is that they're not any happier than me.
Yeah.
At all. Like, so I did this podcast with Kenny James, and he's one of my favorite human beings in the whole world. He's the chef for Damian Lillard. I think they're cousins. But this guy is like wisdom like you would not believe. This guy's fucking genius. And he's just an amazing human being. And the way he described it is, he said, rich people solved the money problem, but all the other problems are still problems for them.
Sure.
You know? So like, we think that with money we solve all the problems. No. We only solve one. But we don't need millions of dollars to solve the money problem. We need
a comfortable, like
$100,000. I don't know. Like, that's more than enough, right? You can travel twice a year.
I think there are literally studies that say like, this is how much money you need to be happy. And then beyond that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't increase your happiness.
Yeah.
So like, hit that number.
Yeah.
And first, like, it's true. I mean, being dirt poor that's not the way to go, especially in our society. Like, you need to be able to survive. But then past a certain point, no, you need friends.
Yeah, we need community.
Yeah.
And we're talking about romanticizing stuff. I think romanticizing the past is super dangerous. When people are like, oh, back then when everybody had to grew their own veggies, like, that's also dangerous because, I don't know, like, it just doesn't paint the whole picture. But we should borrow from the things that we romanticize, you know? So it's not the ideal past because there's no ideal present, but just borrowing little parts from the past to make the present better. So the idea of utilizing technology and like all the fucking cool shit that we have now, like cameras and microphones and the ability to broadcast this conversation all over the world, like, those are great things. Yeah. But we should not forget about the past, like growing tomatoes, like growing a couple of tomato plants in your balcony, you know, because those things are what actually reminds you of the real reality, which is the one that we all share, as opposed to the reality of like Wall Street, which is a reality that we share, but it's not real. Like, if we really think about what it is, it doesn't really exist. Like, it does, but it doesn't. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little floater. I agree. I think we can take the good and we can leave the bad from history and learn from it, and we should never forget it. But there is truth. And technology won't fix it all, but it's sure as hell nice to have around to a certain degree. I mean, my tractor is nice.
Better than a horse. Sorry, horses.
Sorry, horses, but I don't want a horse. My tractor is 65 horsepower.
Yeah, you get 65 horses.
Yeah.
So outside of farming, what do you like doing? What's your life like outside of your job?
Outside of work, I read, I hike, I camp, and then I really prioritize and have actively been prioritizing visiting people that I love and making sure that I maintain relationships with people. For a while there, after I moved back home, I realized that the money that I make, which is not substantial, is best spent traveling to see the people that are meaningful to me. So whenever I have time, I'm usually moving somewhere to be with friends. I hope in some distant future that people will also find it valuable to visit me. There's this hilarious song that I love so much, and one of the verses is, "None of my city friends have visited me yet." And it feels like that, like out in the middle of nowhere. And some absolutely have. I had a birthday party last winter, and so a lot of my friends came down, and they were like, "Whoa, where are we?" But they're not going to come to me. I'm going to go to them because I love like having interactions with these people that have been so meaningful in my life, and meeting new people and traveling and having those experiences. And so that's where I like to spend my money if I have it. Mm-hmm. I like to travel. Lindsay's from New Orleans, yeah. So we go there.
That's pretty awesome. It's a good place to go.
Yeah, very fun and very different.
I used to go there often because I lived in Alabama.
Yeah,
so
of course you did.
Close.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Weekend getaway.
Yeah. I like to travel. My best friend from college is getting married in Croatia this summer.
Whoa.
So somehow I have to, and she's been living in Serbia for, I think like 4 years now. And so I have to leave the farm for a week in August.
Wow. Woo.
I know.
Weird.
I know.
Damn.
So I got to train those people up.
Yeah, you
make sure that they can handle it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm so excited because it's going to be just, it's in this little town where her partner's grandma lives, and it's just this little Croatian town where we're going to have a little love ceremony and
that's cool.
Yeah, eat fish and drink white wine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess the simple things, I like to travel, I like to read, I like to write, I like to hike, I like to cook. I like to cook.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We should do some cooking one day.
Okay, yeah.
We should do a cooking video.
That would be so fun.
I want to do like a CSA thing.
Yeah.
Always. So like whatever I get from you, I just cook something out of that.
Yeah.
And it'd be really cool. I know you're super busy, but it would take like 2 hours or whatever. Yeah. You come over and then we just cook something here with the stuff that you grew.
So fun.
That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah. Let's do it. That'd be fun. I think people like videos, right?
Yeah, I think so.
People watch videos.
I love videos.
Right?
Do you not watch? Do you not spend any time on that?
So it's funny when, like, if Lindsay and I are gonna, so we've been putting in we put in new flooring. Like, so we put in hardwood floors, and that's like been our project for the last few weeks. Okay. And it's like almost done. But when we're like looking up how to, do whatever, put a shim in or whatever, it's like, I go and start reading manuals. And she goes to YouTube and watches it. And so it's totally different. I'll like read instruction manuals if we get like a new appliance or something. I'm like, and she's like, let's like Google some pictures. Yeah. So interesting. So yeah, I like videos. I do. And I need them sometimes, but I also like to read that stuff. Like reading recipes, she won't do it. But she'll watch a video of like someone doing something.
That's awesome. I'm more like her, but I'm a it's pretty serious reader.
Yeah, she reads too, but
I love videos. I love YouTube. Like to me, YouTube is the greatest escape from reality, but it's also like the greatest university of all times. Like anything you want is there. Like it just completely like erases the need to go to school, in my opinion. Yeah. Like you don't need to waste however many years you waste in school. You got YouTube. And you got like the best of the best teaching you everything.
It's everything.
And it's super entertaining and it's beautiful, and it can also be a waste of time, but it's amazing. Like I learn shit on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, it's empowering is what it is. Like I was watching YouTube videos on how to put a backhoe on my tractor the other day. And I like did it by myself, and I was like, cool. I would have, I don't know. That's so empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I discovered a farming channel today. I think it's called No-Till Farming, I want to say. Mm-hmm. Maybe I got it wrong. It's No-Till something. And Farmer Jesse. And he's like, hi, this is Farmer Jesse. I'm going to teach you about compost, And it's so good, you know? And it's like, wow, like we live in a time where like this dude that just loves farming picked up a phone or a camera, who knows? And then he's like, I'm going to teach people what I do. Because one of the beautiful things about podcasting or YouTube channel is that you really do create a community.
Yeah.
Because like Farmer Jesse, this guy.
Yeah.
How many people watch his videos? A lot.
Yeah.
And he gets comments and they're like, oh, thank you so much for, helping me this. And then somebody else maybe is more knowledgeable and they're like, oh, try this. I saw your video, but if you add the extra wood chips or whatever, then it gets less nitrogen, whatever the fuck, right? Yeah. And then you start to create this community, which is weird in a way because your community lives in your device. But you feel it. If somebody leaves you a comment, like I'm the biggest fan of leaving positive comments. Like, I love it. Like I get high on doing that. Yeah. I'll leave a comment like, I love you, man. You're the best. Yeah. Or like and whatever, something like that. Like, I know that the person reading is going to feel good. And even though I'm not there to see them, but like, I know that throwing that positivity out there is really cool. And then these people get a lot of that. There's also the trolls and the people that are going to talk shit, you know, which if you have a good sense of humor, they're amazing. Like, I love them too, you know, because most of the time they're comedians and they're just like, sometimes they're just idiots that are unhappy, but sometimes they're trying to be funny in a way that's like unusual. And I love that. Like, I do a lot of videos with Chef's Roll, and they're like this big company. And so their videos are watched by like millions of people, like insane numbers. And so you're going to find a bunch of negative comments, and they're the best. Like, when I find those, they're so much fun because they're just like talking shit. Like, they're trying to take me down. And it's just so much fun, you know? And like, I always reply. Oh yeah. But with love, you know, like I don't engage in any type of, I just say like, dude, I love your comment. Like, that was so good, you know, like that was like such a good, what do they call that? Like when you're like trying to destroy somebody, like a roast, you know, it's just like, they're like, oh, you stupid hair. You look like a need fucking whatever, you know, and I'm just like, thanks for this. Like, this is great. Like actually a friend of mine, he's not like a friend, but he's somebody that I used to work with. And he made a comment in one of the videos that I posted. And he's like, you know, if I was you, I would consider taking off that hat. You look stupid with it, you know? And I was like, oh, this is the best. Like, it's so loving. Like, to me, like insulting somebody is like respectful. It's the opposite of what people think an insult is. Like, it can be both, you know, it depends on intention and all that. But I choose to see it as like they're pointing out something that, a flaw that I have in a way that it's funny, you know? And so I'm always happy. I'm like, he thinks I look stupid with a hat. There's some truth to it, you know? Actually, maybe I should think about this, you know? It's funny.
That's funny.
I appreciate it. I love good humor.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, you can say like, oh, this is weird community. We live inside of our devices. Or you can be like, this is a new channel of communication that we've created. And that's just a new way that we do it. And goes back to the thing you were saying where like, oh, the past, it's always the best, the way that we've always done it. It's like, no, we're reaching more people. We're getting knowledge from Farmer Jesse, who lives God knows where. And you get to like learn about composting from him because your farmer down the road obviously doesn't make enough videos for you to learn.
Exactly.
Right. And so it's like, that's a positive communication, a discourse that we get in our modern age.
That's good. I like it. I like it. I was super anti social media forever because it's very destructive also.
Absolutely.
But it's really cool. Like, what I try to do is I like try to pump positivity, and then I just hit send and publish whatever. And then some people like, right now it's really funny because anything that I do, like, my mom watches it, my dad, and like my uncle and my aunt. And they're like, oh, we love what you're doing. And I'm like, thanks. Cool. My audience of like 7 people that have known me since I was born. But that's part of the beauty of this thing. It's like, it doesn't really matter. You know, like this idea to have a podcast called Chef Therapy came from my friend Patrick. Like, one day I was like, oh, dude, like, I think I said, I don't need therapy. And he started laughing. He's like, dude, you need therapy more than anybody I've ever met in my life. Like, you're a fucking psychopath. And then we were talking about chefs and how they don't have a community, or sometimes they do. But like, I think ultimately the reason why people need therapy is because they don't have a community, you know, because we're all like alone. Like, we feel alone. Like, in this country, we feel alone a lot. Like, I feel alone. I'll speak for myself. Because everyone's just after their goals. Like, you know, I got to pay off my debt, and then I got to get a nicer car and a bigger house. And like, we forget that there's a we. But so I was like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast called Chef Therapy. I think it's a cool idea, you know? And so I started thinking about, why would I do that? Like, what is the point of doing something? Because I need to have like, in order for me to do something, like I need to fully understand what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Yeah. So tell us your mission statement.
Fuck, I haven't thought about this, but I think it is to somewhat create a community, which doesn't make any sense to through listening to something, but maybe it is to use a platform that hopefully eventually will be a real platform that promotes good things, you know? So like I always end my conversations with people saying like, how can I help you succeed, you know? And it's in hopes that my mom and my dad and my uncle and my aunt that listen to this will be inspired and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to help this person. You know, if like I ask somebody like, how can I help you? And the person says, well, you know, you buy some of my, you know, handmade baskets that I make or whatever, you know, then, you know, somebody listening would be like, oh, I'm going to help. Like it really is there to try to help, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there is also community building in just listening to people that are struggling in the same way that you're struggling, or have a belief that resonates with you, or, I mean,
yeah, that's true.
There's community building and listening to other perspectives and feeling like you're not alone in that way.
Yes.
I mean, I know that podcasts for me, oftentimes I'm like, oh, I listen to them because I want to hear what these people have to say. And I think that I relate to them.
Yeah.
It's a different way of building community.
Yeah.
And it's modern and it's weird.
Yeah.
It's our
but it's legit. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to have Lindsay on here.
I do want to. Yeah.
She's got a lot to say.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I think, you know, this podcast is going to start with my community, like people in my community.
Yeah.
You know, like you guys are the people that I rely on for my well-being.
Yeah.
And I want to put myself out there and say that anything you need, I'm there, you know? So what can I do to support you? How can I make sure that you're successful?
You're my biggest supporter, Andre.
Yeah. How can I be even more of a supporter?
I think, I mean, I think supporting me and supporting you and supporting anyone in our community is just like, if you support anyone around here, we're supporting each other, you know? And so it's like, I urge and I think your question is probably like more about how do we help you, or how do you help? Like, it's everyone, it sounds so stupid, but like by supporting your local businesses, or even just getting to know the people that are running them, you're helping the other guy down the road, because like my hardware store that's where I'm getting all my stuff, and they're successful if I'm successful. If my I'm getting a new irrigation system because I'm got funding from the local, you know, grant down the road, and they're paying me to pay the hardware store to pay whoever to like, I'm going to make produce. It's just like, if we all make that intentional effort together, then it's a no-brainer. So I guess it sounds so stupid, but it's really just come say hi. Come to the farmer's market. Come get to know your local farmer, get to know your local chefs, get to know the people that are actually trying to change the way the community functions and localize it. Mm-hmm. That's resiliency, man. Mm-hmm. It sounds stupid, but it's true.
No, it doesn't sound stupid.
I mean, it sounds trite. And it's like what every local farmer, like, come say hi at your local farmer's market. But honestly, once you make those personal connections, it's like you have no choice once you meet that person to like, you're like, obviously I want a CSA from them. And like, obviously they're going to, you know, support my business too. And like buy my, whatever I make. I mean, that's constantly what I'm thinking is like, how do I localize what I'm doing? How do I make sure that I'm supporting the people around me? Because they're all supporting me. That's how we survive. And that's the only way forward. Period.
I like it. That's a good ending. Let's chat again soon.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, Mom, Dad, and Uncle.
Bye, guys. Nice to meet you.
Bye.